Welcome back, everybody, to the Shoot Fast podcast. I am your host, Cody Axon, sitting down with Joel Park.
Hi there.
So this week, Joel brought a topic to us, and why don't you go and cue it up?
Well, I want to talk about classification. It's something that comes up a lot. Just shooting classifiers, what your class is. I feel like people see classification as more than it really is, that they let it determine their self-worth, and maybe you agree or disagree with me.
Well, it definitely determines self-worth, for sure. Like, for me, it eats me alive that I haven't made GM yet, and I probably won't make GM anytime soon. But we'll get into that as we get into it, so go ahead.
All right, so just briefly to kind of go over where each of us are as far as history. I shot USPSA I started around I think 2003-ish. I had to look on practice score to see what I even had for classifiers out there. But I shot an indoor outlaw match around 2003. I shot till 2011, which was 7 years. Made B class. And I was probably just a solid B shooter. It was pretty deliberate, but I could hit everything. Nothing really special. I took some time off. I still plink and went to the range and shot targets, but nothing serious, nothing for USPSA. I didn't even have any classifiers from 2011 to 2014. And then...
Did you shoot any matches at all in that time period?
I think I shot I should have looked through my stack of plaques. Mm-hmm. I think I shot the Great Plains match once.
Oh, that's how you keep history of what matches you shot, what matches you got plaques from.
Well, that was it, because I just win. Before, you could win a section match by being B class.
All right.
So I think I won the Great Plains match every year. Being B class was high overall for the division, and I didn't practice or anything. So there's just no local heat. And now, man, if you're at least M or GM, you're not even coming in the running, which is crazy, but it's about how the sport's growing. But that's a different subject. So anyway, I started back up around the beginning of 2014-ish. Decided to start dry firing, got pretty serious after it. I made M class. We both did the summer of 15. So a year and a half after I really started shooting, I guess, from B class to M.
I think we both made A class and M class at the same matches.
Because I made A at the beginning of 15, I think.
Yeah, and that was at the classifier match, right?
Yeah, I went from middle of the road B to I was 0.5% away from A. And then I was only in A for just a couple months. And then we both went to that all classifier match.
Yeah.
And we both made M class the same match.
Yeah, because that was 2015, so I'll butt in a little bit here. So when I started off, I was in C class in 2014. The third match I think I shot in USPSA period was a classifier match, because our club always holds classifier matches every May. And so I shot that match. I made high C class. I think it was 58%, and that was actually the first thing that was that really motivated me to get serious about shooting USPSA. Was I thought C class sounded super lame, and I wanted to be better than that. And then I made B class at some point over the next year, just from shooting classifiers here and there, and then a year later in 2015 at that May classifier match, you and I both went from B to A in that match, and then we started practicing together. Both were practicing a lot, and then what was that, June or July that year? It was in the summer at some point.
It was July or August, I think.
I think it was June, because I think we were both M come that section.
You were right, because I was only A class for a month or two. Yeah, so May to June or July.
Yeah, I think it was June, and then we both made M class that same match, and then that's where I've been ever since. But you go ahead. No,
and then after that, also I just wanted to brought out, I think I started at C class. It was either D or C class. So that first 7 years was just whatever. I was just shooting and just hanging out with my friends. But then, after we did that, then May of last year I made GM. So that was 2 years to go from M to GM.
Yeah. And I made M in production, and then I was M in production until I switched to limited. And then I remember my first couple limited classifiers, I think I had a bunch of 40 or 45%. It was really bad. I had a bunch of really bad classifiers right when I switched. And then I made A class, but I was A class because I was M class in production.
Yeah,
but
you're 50%.
I was 50%, and then I shot Area 6 last year in A class in limited, and I won A class, and I was 90%, So if at a match that counts as a classifier, which that has to have 3 GMs in the match and has to be 3 GMs have to shoot above 90%. So that, I mean, pretty much any area match is going to qualify for that. So Area 6 did. So since this match counted as a classifier, I shot greater than 90%. And so it's like if you shoot more than 5% over your classification at one of those matches, you automatically get bumped to M. So really that's a long way of saying is I got bumped to M at a match. And so I was like a 58% M class when I initially made it, which was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And that same match where you made GM at that classifier match last year in 2016. It's 2017 now,
17.
Right?
No, it's 18 now. That was
Is it
17
18?
last year.
Oh, man. Okay, so 2017.
Holy crap.
What is it, March? How long has it been, 2018? Anyway, so 2017.
Should just let you go with it.
I think, so I made M class, and I was officially, like, I actually got my percentage within M class. And I was one classifier away from making GM. I think I had calculated out where, like, I needed either 2 classifiers that would add up to be like a 94.5%, or I needed one 98% or better for the whole year. And the whole year went by, and I never shot another classifier that was a GM level because I didn't shoot very many classifiers for the rest of the year because I mostly shot major matches. And pretty much every major match I shot counted as a classifier, and pretty much all those matches I shot something like an 88 to 89% of the winner. So I've got a whole bunch of like low M class classifiers on my classification record, and I'm not anywhere close to making GM. So that's fun. So
yeah. Anyway, so enough of that crap. So yeah, neither one of us had any natural talent. We started out. We both sucked, or at least I sucked. It was like C class heat with my Ruger P95 and a Phobos holster, and just being safe and hanging out with my friends, pretty much. So, so things to talk about. Is having a higher classification always the best? Should you sandbag? What do you think?
Well, I actually hear more about sandbagging from our local shooters than I hear about people really wanting to move up in classification. It seems like, well, I guess it's 50-50. But I
think
like
there's always the joke about sandbagging.
No, I mean, there are people who legitimately like won't shoot shoot a different division.
Yeah, I can think of somebody that did that.
Yeah, he shoots a different division like most of the year, so that way when he shoots our area match, he can try and get a plaque for being like high C class or B class, whatever it is, heat in whatever division he's planning on shooting at the area match this year, so that he can try and get a plaque or a prize or whatever. So there are those people, but I mean, I do think the majority of people want to move up in class, or maybe they're already happy with the class where they're at, but they want to do better within their class. I mean, it's really a personal thing of how much classification really matters to you. I mean,
there is pride with that, though, because
prior to making GM, how important was it to you to make GM?
So I would say after we made M class, during that match where we made M class, I had like a 98 and maybe a low 90s, so I was capable. And the next year at the all classifier match, I think I already had a Benjamin or 2. So I knew I was capable of making GM. I just could not string them all together.
If people aren't getting the reference, you got 100%.
Yes, I have several 100% classifiers, but I couldn't string them together. Where I'd hundo a couple, and then I'd have a couple lowers, 80s or 90s, and it would drag it back down. So there's a little bit of a point where I really wanted to make it. I'm like, man, this would be awesome. I know I'm capable because I've done it a couple times. Now I just need to do it 4 times in a row or 6 times in a row or whatever, however the voodoo figures out to be.
Yeah.
So yeah, for a while I really wanted to. And then, I know this sounds cheesy and dumb, but the match that I made it at, I wasn't actually concerned about. At some point, I kind of gave up after that first year of trying to make it happen. And then I just decided, maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't. I just need to get better, because I'm not going to do myself any favors by getting a GM card, because I wouldn't be competitive at that level. And I'm still, paper GM, whatever, questionably competitive at that level. So,
I would define you as being competitive as a GM, but I mean that's another topic, really.
Sure. So anyway, at some point I really wanted it bad, and then I'm just going to shoot and try to get better, and it happened.
Yeah. So for me, making GM has been like my primary goal since I started shooting.
You have not let it go yet.
I really haven't. So I know I previously talked about it, how when I first started shooting, all I really worked on was classifier skills because I just wanted to make GM. Like, I didn't care if I made GM and I was like placing as a C-class shooter at matches, it didn't matter to me. Because that was really before I even started shooting major matches. I saw that C-class classification, and I'm like, I don't want to be C-class. What's the best one? Okay, it's GM. Well, I want to be a GM because that sounds really cool.
Yeah, it's the best one. Even the name is dumb. It sounds like something out of like World of Warcraft or something. I think. But.
So I want to be the very best, like no one ever was, and make Grandmaster.
Yeah. Do you think that truly represents your skill?
So I just saw somebody post a comment on this the other day on Facebook because I think the USPSA or somebody related to USPSA, I think it was Mike Foley or it might have been the USPSA Facebook page, posted about they're going to make new classifiers this year at USPSA Nationals, and so they're going to set up new classifiers, and they'll use the hit factors that people are shooting at Nationals as kind of a baseline to figure out what the high hit factor is going to be going forward. And one of the first comments that somebody posted was, can we make the classifiers more representative of what the sport actually is? And I don't disagree that classifiers aren't necessarily representative of the sport. So, I mean, your average classifier is you stand in one place, you draw, you shoot 6 to 8 shots, you reload, and you shoot 6 to 8 shots. Or you draw and you just fire 8 shots. Or you reload, you shoot strong hand, and you reload, you shoot weak hand on 2 separate strings. I mean, those are like, most of the classifiers kind of fall into one of those categories. There's like 3 or 4, I think, total that have any movement on them at all.
Yeah, just a couple. That's not the bulk of them, though.
Yeah, the ones that have movement, like if you see a classifier set up in a match that has movement in it, it's like, wow, like this is amazing, because it just doesn't happen ever.
And I think the reason for that is just ability to set it up.
Yeah,
because it's easier to set up like that. Fluffy's Revenge or whatever, like one of those easy just stand and hammer stuff.
El Presidente. Yeah, 3 targets in a shooting box.
Yeah, any club can set that up. They don't have to have a ton of props.
You can set that up in an indoor match. It's super easy to
measure.
Yeah,
and it's repeatable.
Yeah, exactly. So I get the desire to want to make classifiers like that, but I do disagree that they're not representative of people's skill at major matches. I mean, if you take any given major match, especially one that has a decent sample size, that has quite a few GMs, Ms, and everybody on down, the majority of the time, if there's more than a few GMs at the match, probably the person winning the match is going to be a Grandmaster. Then below the top couple Grandmasters are going to be Masters. Maybe there's going to be one A-class person who's kind of in the mix with the Ms and GMs, and there's going to be maybe an M-class person or two that's up higher than a lot of the GMs. But it's a pretty even distribution of, as you go down, it's a pretty good indicator of how you're going to place overall in the match is what your classification is. I mean, it's just as you scroll top to bottom, the classifications get lower. And yes, they're mixed together, but there's a pretty decent correlation if you put it on an actual graph and did actual math and statistics and that sort of thing.
I think there is consistency that plays into it also, because like what I first did when I first want to make GM, you can swing for the bleachers and shoot 100 on one of the classifiers. Like one of them I had like 120, but it was like draw 2 poppers, hammer 2 alphas, and hit 2 more poppers. I don't remember what number that is. But like, if you give enough guys enough chances, anyone could draw and hit that at some point.
Yeah.
But could you do that 6 times in a row?
Yeah, and I mean,
for different classifiers.
Yeah, and like if you stand there and practice it all day, I mean, pretty much any classifier, well, most of the classifiers, especially the easier ones where they're just based on speed and just being able to hang enough points on target at maximum speed, and you'll make GM. There's some that are like really difficult accuracy standards that if you set them up all day, you might not be able to hundo them. But if you're like a B-class shooter, if you set up El Presidente and you just hammer on it like 10, 20 times in an afternoon, you're probably going to get at least 100% or maybe a 95% somewhere in there.
Yeah.
But you don't necessarily have the consistency to be able to pull that off on your first try at a match. So, I mean, by being able to make Grandmaster, you're showing that you have the level of consistency that you can, on 6 separate classifiers, you can do well enough to average a 95% or better. That does say something about your shooting skill level, that you're able to perform on demand that consistently. Because even like M classes, you can get 100 here or there. I mean, I think there's tons of M class guys who have maybe 100 or maybe 2 100s on their record somewhere. but then you end up with an 85 or an 80% that drags you down, and you just don't have that same level of consistency. It is very difficult. Take it from me. It is very difficult to get 6 classifiers that all just everything lines up perfectly, and you get them all within a relatively close enough time period where they're all going to count together. It's just difficult to do that. So I think by showing you have the skill level to do that at some point to make Grandmaster, I think it is pretty indicative of the fact that you're going to be able to do well at matches because you can perform at that level consistently. Just because you can stand and shoot, 6 reload 6 really well, it doesn't mean that you can run around a stage.
For sure.
And shoot on the move, and shoot swingers, and shoot steel, and
stage plan,
all the other stuff that goes into doing well on a USPSA stage. So there are those people who make Grandmaster, and they are not like in any level competitive as a GM. I mean, that definitely happens. I would say that's less common than people who make GM and are, at least a little bit competitive. But there are those people who, like, you see them middle of the pack, like, of the entire match. They're down like 20, 30 places behind all the other Grandmasters because maybe they had the ability on one particular day, or, they chipped away at it for a long time and they kept working on their stand and shoot skills. And maybe they're really good at stand and shoot stages, but they're not very good at running stages for whatever reason. And they just can't compete at the GM level. You do see those people, but I think they're less common.
So do you think it should be a personal goal to move up like a class a year, or do you think there should be an amount of measurement with that?
Well,
because obviously once you get to, like, let's say A or M, it's tough from there to move. Maybe it's a little bit easier for some people to move through like D and C.
Yeah. I mean, I think once you...
B classes, didn't mean to cut you off. B class is definitely the hardest to get out of. I think we'd both agree.
Yeah, I like the way that Ben Sager's talked about this a couple times on his podcast. I mean, and I think in his books too, is that B class is such a broad class. Like, once you get above B class, everybody kind of starts looking the same as far as their skill set of, things that they can do on classifiers. But B class, you can make B class by being really slow. I mean, not really slow, but like you can draw at a decent rate, but you're not shooting that fast. And you're shooting all alphas are very close. You're shooting really good points, but you're not really shooting that aggressively. And you can kind of draw and reload like reasonably okay, but it's not that fast. But you shoot really good points. You can make B class that way. Or maybe you're like me and you go crazy and you shoot as fast as you can. You're shooting like GM times, but you're shooting like a bunch of Ds. So then you also make B class because you're dropping way too many points to actually, get an A or higher classifier. But your time is good. So like those two people, if you watch them shoot back to back, like those two people have nothing in common in terms of how they shoot, but their scores are going to be similar for opposite reasons. And so everybody who's in B class kind of has a separate case of things they need to work on. Where, once you get to A class, I think most people in A class maybe just need to go a little bit faster, be a little bit more accurate, and work on both ends. And then definitely that's true in M class. It's just a consistency issue, and maybe you need to be a little bit faster, a little bit more accurate. But really B class, I think, has the biggest range of different skills that people have that get them in there. So.
I think setting yourself up to do like maybe a classification a year or something is just from my experience, just setting yourself up for heartbreak anyway and frustration. So I don't think it should be a goal. I know people say that, and you could say it's easy for me to say that because I am a GM, I guess. But I think just work on getting better at everything, and then just let it happen. Because I was really getting frustrated by not getting it. When I knew I had a couple hundreds, I knew I could make it happen, but I couldn't make it happen consistently.
2018, that's this year, right?
Yes, as far as you know.
2018 is the first year where I have not, well, than my first year when I started. So 15, 16, and 17, every year at the beginning of the year, I told myself I was going to make GM that year. And this is the first time where, I mean, I'm the best I've ever been. It's the most likely it's ever been that it's going to happen. And this is the first year where I haven't been like, okay, this is the year I'm going to make GM. Because I think that by putting so much pressure on making Grandmaster has really been counterproductive for the same reasons you're talking about. Like, I haven't made Grandmaster, but my experience of making Master Class, especially the first time I did it in production, was very much what you're talking about, where I was like, I'm just going to go and just shoot the stages like I would for anything else and just try to do my best, but I'm not going to like push. I'm not going to try and make anything happen. That was exactly what my experience was, and I shot, I think, almost all M-class classifiers that day, like 5 or 6 in a row.
Yeah, we made it in one match.
Yeah.
By just that match's average.
Yeah, so that was my experience making making master, but then making grandmaster, of course, why, if something's not broken, why not try and fix it and see if you can make it better? And so pretty much ever since then, I definitely have had some classifier-itis issues of, since I shoot classifiers so infrequently, when I do finally get a chance to shoot one, it's like, okay, now I got to make this happen. Especially when I had it hang over my head all year that I just needed one. So it's like, okay, if I nail this one, I'm waiting for the person to say, are you ready? Stand by. And then while they're doing that, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna in 10 seconds, I'm gonna be a GM, because I knew if I hunted that one classifier, then I was gonna make grandmaster. And so having that running through my head all year led to me not making GM all year. And so now that I'm so far away, it's like, you know what? It's not even a worthy goal at this point anymore. Like, I know it's going to happen eventually if I just keep shooting.
Yeah.
And it's not worth my mental energies to do that.
And even
anymore.
though Cody always is like self-promoting himself to me, just so he doesn't have to say it, Cody was top 16 at Limited Nationals. So Cody is, if you're looking at Nationals, I finished 32nd. So if you're looking at the numbers, the classification didn't mean anything there because Cody had a better finish than I did. So he tells me how good he is to me.
Off mic.
Yeah, off mic.
I don't like to seem that cocky on the show.
Everybody has it figured out by now.
Yeah, I mean... So another thing that's frustrating, I've told you this a million times, but I just want to say it on the mic one time because it really is. It really does upset me that USPSA changed the rules last year,
for crying out loud,
which was great. I think it's a good rule. Where matches where if it's a level 2 or higher and there's more than 3 GMs and more than 3 GMs shoot 90% or better of the overall winner, then that match automatically counts as a classifier. And in those matches that counts as classifiers, you automatically get bumped if you shoot more than 5% of your current classification. So, for example, if you were to win a level 2 or higher match that has 3 GMs placing above 90%, you would automatically get bumped to GM. Well, I may or may not have done that exact thing in 2016, not that long before that rule was changed. So I would have been a GM about 2 years ago. In production. And I would have not been probably made GM yet in Limited.
Oh, so you're telling me you'd be in the same place you are now.
I am, but I would at least have a card that, in my back pocket that says GM for, if that... eventually when that comes around. So
while I was listening to that whole dissertation, my mind was wondering, I was thinking what video game am I going to play when I get home? I wonder if my friends will be on so we can all play Wildlands or something.
Yeah, at this point that's kind of more what I'm banking on is maybe I'll win another match in Limited and I'll beat 3 GMs. I feel like that's more likely at this point than me actually stringing together 6 classifiers just because of how it's been.
All right, so you go to we're going to have an all classifier match in May.
Yes.
How do you treat those? Do you swing for the bleachers or shoot conservatively? Do you shoot, obviously when I say conservatively, let's say to your skill, do you shoot what you're capable of or do you push?
So you're probably a better person to ask about this than I am. I've always had my best experiences with classification when I just shoot it like a stage. And when I say shoot it like a stage, I mean shoot it like I would any other stage in a match. Like if it was... if there's a stand and shoot stage at an area match, I'm not going to push super hard to try and blow everybody's mind with how fast I shot the stage. I'm just going to shoot it just reasonably well. I'm just going to, see my sights on all the targets, use whatever level of sight picture is necessary on every target to shoot, mostly alphas and some charlies. And then the time is going to work itself out. So when I do that on classifiers, that's usually when I have my best results, but I have a very hard time making myself actually do that.
For sure.
What do you think?
Especially on the close stuff. Now that they are kind of just more of a stage to me, the thing that hit home the most, I think you shot the match. The one we did where it's, and I should have looked this up, I apologize. There's 3 paper off to the left. They're kind of diagonally lined up. They're just full open.
Is that called Hill Bilton Drill?
Yeah, I think so. And then there's 6 poppers. Yeah. In a U shape around some no shoots that are standing up, and they're way out. The no shoots don't even need to be there.
Yeah, it's 2 arrays, one paper, 1 steel. You got to reload between the 2 of them. It's just like every other classifier.
So it was just a stage to me. I thought I'm just going to shoot this accurately. I got a good draw. I shot 6 alphas, being very patient with the sights. I mean, it was fairly quick, but I was shooting for alphas. Did my reload. I bobbled it a little bit. I'm like, this is annoying. Mm-hmm. So I remember I caught the inside lip of the magazine. I still got the reload done. The old me would have been all right, these poppers are lined up. These are big. I need to just hammer these. Instead, I just thought I'm just going to hit them all with 1 shot. So I went 1 for 1 straight across, to me, it seemed like it took forever, like embarrassingly slow. Watch it on video. Yeah, the reload I bobbled a little bit. It wasn't that bad. I got all alphas, and I got a 103%. To me, like the old me would have been trying to push to make something happen there to make up the time that I'd lost, and instead it was 100% on it. And it, like, I could have done that again. If you set that up again today, I could go out and do that again.
Yeah, and
I just treat it like a stage.
And conversely, I was on your squad for that, and there was another guy on our squad who's very close to making Grandmaster, and he and I both had the same experience on it where we were both trying to make it happen to make Grandmaster, and we both had bad stages on it because once you start pushing and trying to make something happen, that's when things really start going wrong.
Yeah, and the steel are all next to each other, so...
Yeah, then you just want to hose that steel.
Yeah.
And, I messed up all my gun handling on that. My draw was terrible. My reload, I threw a mag, and then I had to draw for my second mag.
And if you would have just treated like that as a regular stage, you would have done way better. Yeah.
That's true.
So that was something that really, I think it's easy just to illustrate that you should just shoot it like a stage.
I agree. What do you think about reshooting classifiers? So, for people who aren't familiar, we don't do it at our club. I've never seen anybody do it at our club. I know that USPSA rules do allow where if you...
Isn't it $5?
Yeah, if you want to reshoot the classifier, you can pay a predetermined amount to reshoot the classifier. It's like $3 or $5. It probably depends on the club. And like I said, a lot of clubs don't like to do this. Ours doesn't. I've never seen anybody do it, but I know it's a thing where basically you can pay money to reshoot a classifier and have that count towards your classification instead of the one that you did during the match. It's not like you're going to stand there and that's going to count towards your actual match score, but that will count towards your classification so that you can maybe... I think why it's there is so...
If you have gun problems, maybe like your gun jams or something?
Yeah, or maybe like you shot really well all day and all of a sudden your gun jams, or like you just completely mess up a reload and you want to go again because you feel like what you did was not representative of your actual skill level. I think that's maybe the idea behind it for why it's there. But what do you think about actually doing that in practice? Like in a match, in real life, what do you think about reshooting classifiers?
I don't think there's any honor in it. I'm not trying to like take a dump on anyone that does do that, but I would not want to be known for getting a higher classification because I had to keep shooting something over and over again until I made it. It's like either I'm going to make it or I'm not going to. I'll go to the match. It's a stage. I'll do my best. Either I'll decide to push or I'll decide to shoot with my ability. I get one chance. After that, it is what it is, and if I don't get it, I'll have to wait to the next match.
See, that's just because you're an elitist GM and you don't care about anybody else.
You were setting me up for this from the beginning. That's my honest answer.
No, I agree. I mean, I would not reshoot a classifier even if it were an option. Just because, same reason you're saying, when I finally make GM, I want it to be because I earned it, not because I, did some,
shenanigans,
some shenanigans or trickeration with the classification system. And
that stuff follows you also.
It does. There's people who have made Grandmaster by reshooting classifiers, and people tend to know who those people are. I've seen the results posted on forums of like, hey, this person reshot this classifier like 6 times, and it shows this person's name over and over and over again, like within parentheses with a reshoot next to it, until they finally got the hit factor they were looking for, and they did this on a bunch of classifiers and eventually made GM that way. And the other problem with that is, we talked about how making Grandmaster is indicative of your skill level because it shows that you can do that on, 6 separate occasions. You can shoot with, on demand, you can shoot a GM score. Well, I mean, me or tons of other people, tons and tons of people, if you're like M class or better, or even A class or better on most, you can just, if you shoot a classifier enough times, you're going to shoot a GM score on it. Because, you can just, if you know that you're going to have more than one chance, you can just call for a mulligan. You can push harder than you would normally push. You can, really try and make something happen and push extra hard. And if you do that enough times, eventually you're going to hook up and it's going to work out and you're going to get a GM score on it. So,
even an M class score, or for that matter, the guys in B class trying to get out of B class to go to A.
Yeah.
So we're using M to GM, but that could be getting out of B class for that matter.
Yeah, for sure. I think I guess the reason why we talk about it is if people are going to be reshooting classifiers a bunch of times, they're probably going to make GM because for that same reason I'm just talking about. If you try enough times, eventually you're going to make it. And I think people who, have made that part of their their strategy for moving up in classification. Eventually, they're going to make GM by doing that. So, I agree. I think we're in agreement that trying to do it in that way just isn't worth the reward. Because what do you get when you make GM?
They don't even give me card. They didn't even send a card anymore. You have to like print yours out off the website. So literally nothing.
So you can get a sheet of printer paper that says Grandmaster on it.
Yeah, really neat.
You get your own hashtag, and so you get like tons and tons of
hate mail.
Yeah, so you get tons and tons of crap from all of your friends.
Yeah,
because you made GM.
Plus, it's a dumb name to begin with. Like I would think they could do better than Grandmaster anyway. Like I don't know what it would be, but I think it's a dumb title.
I like Grand Wizard.
Yeah, it's going back to World of Warcraft or something. I don't know. Like something that doesn't belong in Lord of the Rings, but...
Yeah, I agree.
What do you think about if you're shooting a stage, like I mentioned, that Hill-Biltner or whatever it's called, and maybe let's say like the guy that we're talking about, one of the guys we shoot with, he is capable, and you and this other person are both capable of being a GM. It will happen at some point. What if you get halfway through and you could just kind of tell this is going to be an M class score. This is okay, but this is not GM material. Should you take longer to shoot that last popper? Maybe accidentally, but on purpose, throw one into a no-shoot? Or shoot a paper an extra time to drive up one or get a miss? Do you think you should, even if you don't make it look deliberate, sabotage yourself in one way or the other just to make sure, like zero or hero, it counts or it doesn't count? So
just to make it clear why one would do this is, especially, I feel like this is especially an issue with moving from M to GM because it's, once you get to a certain level, it's not that hard to shoot M class classifiers, but it's very hard to shoot GM classifiers. And if you keep shooting like low M class classifiers, you're never gonna get out. So there's certain things that can happen, like I could bobble a reload or like completely mess up my draw and do everything else really well, and it would probably be an M class score. So let's say, for example, I completely messed up my draw. You're asking, what we're talking about is would I deliberately mess up the stage bad enough after that so that it would drive it below a 80% so that it wouldn't count toward my classification?
Either where people would know because you started shooting popper strong hand, or you on purpose threw one into a no shoot, but no one else knew that you really meant to do that. You could do it either way.
I have seen people do that. Start shooting strong hand on a classifier because they messed up something.
What do you think about that?
I personally wouldn't do it. I don't like it. I think that you should just do your best all the time, and any kind of stuff where you're trying to manipulate the system, I just don't like it. I don't think it reflects well on you.
It's not sportsmanlike, regardless of if you get a procedural penalty or whatever.
Yeah, I think Joel and I so we both like to joke around and make fun of each other and stuff, and rail on USPSA board members and that sort of thing. And
I don't remember any board member talk. Just leave me out of this.
Or the USPSA president, that sort of thing. But one thing I do really care about is, for me personally, I really care about competitive equity and like the integrity of the sport. And I think by doing things like intentionally that are going to damage your own integrity, like the integrity of the sport, the competitive equity, I just don't like any of that stuff. So I'm not going to do anything to try and get a reshoot off some sort of technicality in the rules because maybe I'm manipulating the RO and telling because I know the rules really well. I'm doing some trickeration and trying to get the RO to give me a reshoot for whatever reason, or I'm going to intentionally mess with the classification system or try and get a perfect double on a swinger at 20 yards because the hole is maybe not exactly a perfect circle. That's the kind of thing that I don't think reflects well on you. And people, like all that stuff that I just listed off, you had a knowing look in your eye. And I feel like a lot of people listening to this are going to have a knowing laugh to themselves of they know exactly who the people who I am referring to when I say these things. And I don't want to be one of those people.
Yeah, I'd rather be the M class, the A class dude that at least has, I don't know, like to sound so cheesy, like dignity or honor, if you want to call it that. Yeah, you don't want to be known for that crap because...
And I'd rather... if it was a major match, I'd rather take second place in a major match than do some... whatever manipulation I have to do to try and get a reshoot or whatever. I would rather, have a lower place than...
Or bully an RO or whatever.
Than try and bully my way into a placement that I didn't earn.
Especially with the internet now.
Yes.
Because you could get shamed. Like, the next thing you know... you could have some dude like screenshot something or quote you and throw that up on duty, and then you'd be getting just lit up.
Yeah, well, I mean, and
that is a way to keep people honest also.
Yeah, the USPSA Illuminati on Duty Project and other internet sources, there legitimately is, I don't know who's behind it. I don't know who all is involved, but I swear there's a USPSA Illuminati of people who know everything that goes on in the sport. Like everything that every person's ever done wrong.
Oh, I could think of somebody at least.
Well, I know one person who's involved in this, but I don't know who else is involved. Oh, I can think of two people.
I can think of a few.
Okay. But there are these people who seem to know every single thing that any person's ever done wrong in USPSA, and they always bring it up at opportune times on Duty Project or wherever. And it's definitely a way of keeping people honest, because like if you did one of those things that's considered cheating, like you'll probably never live it down to certain people. And I don't know. People have long memories about this stuff. So,
or think about what was normally I would not drop names, but who cares? Like, screw this guy. What was it? Paul Hendricks, like the guy that was doing the timer cheating thing. Like, yeah, screw that guy, obviously, because he got kicked out of USPSA. Mm-hmm. But he had like death threats.
Yeah. So for people who aren't aware, because this happened like right when I first got started,
several years ago.
That's where the phrase "Don't plus two me, bro" came from, because people would get finished shooting and he would look at the timer. I saw videos of him doing it. He would like hold it down to like his waist, and he would look down at it and read off the time. And depending on whether it was his friend or it was himself or
somebody he didn't like,
he would either add 1 to 2 seconds or subtract 1 to 2 seconds. And it was always like exactly. He would just whatever the second amount was, he would just change that and then keep the decimals the same, basically just to either screw the person over or help somebody else out who's competing with that person. So
yeah, but that guy had death threats, and he got ran out of the sport, which I would say he deserved it.
Yeah, rightfully so.
That's why I would name drop. Normally, I would not name drop. He deserved what he got.
Yeah,
but after the internet, I mean, that made him famous. Everybody, well, look at me. We're not at his club. Everybody knows that dude's name. Everybody knows what he did.
Yeah, he's just some guy who's an RO at some club I've never been to, and I know his name is Paul Hendricks, and I kind of a vague idea. I kind of remember
what he looks like.
What he looks like.
Yeah.
Where how many dudes are just some RO at some club who maybe I've met once or maybe never met, and I'll never know who they are, but because he chose to cheat, I know who he is. From halfway across the country. So,
and the death threats were excessive.
And obviously that's an extreme example because that was somebody outright cheating, like without a doubt, outright cheating. And some of the stuff we're talking about is a little bit more gray area of like, yeah, if you intentionally sabotage your classification, it's not outright cheating. You're not changing the scores. You're not going in and changing the scorecard or like messing with the tab or anything like that. But it is still.
I would say it's cheating.
It's still cheating, but it's not on the same level, I would say. It's not stuff that's going to get you kicked out of USPSA.
Yeah, I wouldn't call shooting a no-shoot cheating or drive up the sport cheating. I would call that more unsportsmanlike, I would say.
Yeah.
But anyway, you can be known for that stuff. So I think that is also just a way to keep people's integrity that maybe people would consider doing stuff otherwise.
I agree.
What do you feel about setting up classifiers to practice? So let's say we're going to have our all-classifier match. It'll be 5 stages. They'll post ahead of time what they are. If you and I wanted to, we could go set up all 5, or maybe the week before, set up one each day to practice on. What do you think about that? Is that helpful?
So I've done that. I've done that plenty of times. Sometimes, not all the time. Sometimes our club, I feel like they used to do it more, where they would publish the classifiers ahead of time, like maybe 1 or 2 days before, to let people know what the classifier is going to be. There was plenty of times where I would set up the classifier in practice and shoot it a bunch of times and see what maybe I need to get better on certain skills to do better at it and just kind of get an idea of where I'm at. I've done that a lot. I don't know that it's really all that helpful in that specific circumstance where you're shooting a classifier that you're about to shoot to try and see how well you can do on it, because ultimately you're going to get to the match. It's going to be different in the match than it is in practice, because you got 15 people standing there watching you. You're taking the videos, you can post it on YouTube afterwards. And
Instagram, bro.
Yeah, or Instagram.
This is 2018.
That's right. Well, yeah, and probably you won't be able to post it on YouTube pretty soon.
Oh, yeah, that's what I hear.
So yeah, there's way more pressure when you do it at a match. So I don't really know that setting up in practice, unless it's the very first thing you do completely cold, then maybe that run that you do in the class for that's going to be pretty indicative of what you're going to do at the match. But beyond that, once you've done it like 2 or 3 times, and okay, now I'm going to start to shoot GM scores or whatever class I'm going for, after I've already done it a few times, I'm getting warmed up. That's not you're not going to take that same level of being warmed up into the match the next day and be able to shoot the same level you were after trying a bunch of times in practice. It just doesn't work that way.
All right, we didn't have the point I had in mind when I made that note, so I'll make it now.
Okay.
The first time, I'm too lazy to set up classifier. I can thread my own belt through my belt loops, but I'm not going to set up classifiers because that takes too much in my practice time.
Okay.
The only time I ever remember doing it is before we made M-Class. And I remember we set up, it was like 1 or 2, maybe 3. We set up a couple of them, like on different days. And the part I liked about it that was interesting was at the time I did not know what GM speed looked like because we did not have a GM at our club. And I thought it was interesting just to shoot it and do the math, the hit factor, and find out what it looked like, how fast we actually had to push to make GM. You know, if it was like, you have like this laser beam where you just draw and you pull the trigger absolutely as fast as you possibly can, just make the transitions and see if you can hang them on paper. Or, no, I actually had time to aim. I was able to aim and shoot alpha straight across on this target. If you don't have a GM, like our super squad level dude in your area, which let's face it, most people don't, I did think it was interesting just to see what it needs to look like. It was an easy way to compare how fast you have to go.
I agree. So,
do you like that?
Yeah, I agree from that standpoint. That I think is pretty much the only situation where it is helpful to set up, like knowing that you're going to be shooting it at a match soon, is if you set it up, you shoot it, and you just shoot at your own normal pace, and you're able to get whatever score you're trying to produce on it, you know, so you can move up a classification. I think that can be really valuable. So,
and even, I would say, even if it wasn't a classifier we were going to set up, we were going to shoot this year at our club, I can see value in just setting up a classifier just to see how your skills would stack up and what a GM speed would look like.
I agree, and that's where I was going to go with that next. Is not necessarily something that you have coming up. I still will do this. I don't do it as often as I used to. When I was really serious about like making GM was kind of my only goal, I set up classifiers a ton in practice. I would just go through the book and like find one that was relatively easy to set up by myself. Didn't require a whole bunch of props or anything like that. And I would just set it up and run it a few times and just see how I could do on it. And I still like to do that stuff sometimes. And it's for the reason, it's more, especially now, it's more for the reason that we're talking about, where generally I find like when I set up a classifier, it kind of takes away some of the allure of like, okay, I got to do something crazy. I got to pull a rabbit out of a hat on this and like make magic happen in order for me to make GM or, you know, have 100%.
Or make B class or A class.
Or yeah, whatever classification you're going for. I think a lot of times you'll find that if you've been practicing, you've gotten better than, you know, whatever your classification is showing you as. If you just go and set up a classifier and just shoot within your ability, you know, you just do your best. You shoot it like you would at a match, like we always talk about, of shooting within your ability, you're not pushing hard, and you just kind of coast through it the way that you would at a match. I think generally you're going to find on most classifiers, at least the common ones, that your score on the classifier is going to be what you think it should be. So, like, I feel like I should be able to make GM, so most classifiers, if I just set them up and I shoot it within my ability and it goes reasonably well, I'm going to get GM scores on the majority of classifiers. It's just a matter of being able to do that in a match. And I would assume that's the same experience you had, because that's what you were talking about earlier in a match, where you just shot it like a stage, and
even if things didn't go quite perfect, I bobbled this a little bit, or the draw was a little bit slow.
So if it was your goal right now, if you were somebody who was trying to make GM, you know, setting that up in practice, and had you had that exact same experience in practice, that would have been really useful and helpful for your confidence of, you know,
like, hey, I bobbled this and it was still good.
Exactly.
I don't have to go crazy.
So I think it's good for that purpose. And also, you know, we talked about how stages aren't the same as classifiers in a lot of cases, but in a lot of cases they are. I mean, classifiers are generally drawing, transitioning between a few targets, reloading, transitioning between some targets. I mean, that's stuff that you do on any given stage. Those are skills in USPSA that you have to be good at if you want to be good. So, I mean, there's nothing wrong with going out and trying to do, you know, get really good at shooting El Presidente, or, you know, maybe with a classifier with a bunch of no-shoots. If you're going to a big match, you know, you set up a classifier with a bunch of no-shoots, and you just shoot it and you try and do as well as you can on it. If you're able to shoot that really well, then that's going to translate over to the skills that you need to shoot well in a match. So, I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with kind of setting it up as a skill test to give yourself a better idea of where you're at in general, not just as a test of, you know, where your classification should be.
And I like one of the guys that I shoot with, or practice with, I guess. He's motivated by seeing results. So I can just feel I'm getting better sometimes, and I'm happy with that. Some people don't work that way. So if you had a couple classifiers you liked, you could set those up May of every year, and just to measure your progress if you wanted to. And I'm not saying you have to have an Excel sheet, but you could just record time, hits, hit factor, and you could go back even at the beginning or end of the year, like we talked about when we were talking about practicing and being not just shooting. You could do the same thing where you could just measure your progress by something that has partials, no shoots, speed shoots, whatever.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
And it's easy to set up because it's all recorded. So
I agree. Well, you have anything else you want to say about classification?
I don't think so. The internet will shame you if you do the wrong thing.
That's right, it will. So, all right, well, that's all we have for you guys today. Thanks for listening. Make sure, I'm not going to tell you guys to rate and review us or anything like that. How about you just tell a friend? Just like, hey, man, this is a cool show. You should listen to it.
Just steal your friend's phone. Be like, hey, guess what you just subscribed for? Now listen to this every day of your life on repeat.
Or if you're like, if you're going on a road trip, just grab somebody else's phone and put it on and then make everybody in the car listen to us talking. Or subscribe to your girlfriend to the show if she doesn't even shoot USPSA, and then just make her play it. All these things work, but just let somebody know that you like the show, and we'd appreciate it. So we'll talk to you guys next time. Thanks.